I'm writing this because I don't know what else to do. It's been months now, and I still can't sleep without hearing the storm, feeling the cold steel of the knife in my gut. Not literally, but figuratively, you know? Like I can't breathe. Like it's still happening. The others are gone. They didn't make it. And I know what you're thinking. Why him? Why does he get to walk away? I've asked myself that same question. I don't think there's an answer I'll ever be satisfied with. But here's what happened. Maybe if I tell it right, someone out there will understand. Or believe me. The plan was simple, no frills. A quick, affordable fishing charter with some friends out of a little seaside town on the Gulf. I was the odd man out. The rest of the group, 4 of them, had been thick as thieves since college. I was the new boyfriend tagging along because Claire wanted me to bond with her old friends. I hated fishing. I hated the smell, the guts, the waiting. But I loved her, and she loved fishing. So here I was, standing on a creaking dock at 6 a.m., squinting against the low morning sun. Our guide showed up late, maybe 10-15 minutes after we were supposed to board. He came sauntering down the dock like he owned the place, even though his boat looked like it was held together with duct tape and stubbornness. Captain Tyler, he introduced himself, shaking my hand with a grip that felt too strong, like he was testing something. He wasn't old, maybe mid-40s, but weathered in a way that told you the sea had been more home than land for years. His skin was sun-cracked, his teeth a little yellow, but his smile was easy, and his voice had that smooth, folksy charm that made you forget the bad first impression. "All set?" he asked, like we hadn't been waiting for him. We piled into the boat. The others, Claire, her friends Mike and Sarah's boyfriend Nate, didn't seem to notice the stains on the deck or the way the railings rattled when we leaned against them. I did, but I kept my mouth shut. As we pulled out of the harbor, Tyler cracked jokes, played up the local accent, and told us about all the fish we'd catch if the weather held. At first, it was fine. Just fine. The water was calm, the sun was high, and we all had rods in hand, beers cracking open even though it wasn't much past 7. Tyler worked the lines with a precision that was impressive, even to someone like me, who didn't know what the hell he was doing. He seemed to know the sea like it was an old friend. He told us about how he'd been doing this since he was a kid. His dad's boat, he said. His dad's business, too. "You won't find better waters than these," he said, smiling wide as the boat chugged farther and farther out to sea. Something about the way he said it made my stomach churn, but I chalked it up to the boat's rocking. By the time we were miles offshore, the coastline was a smudge on the horizon. The others were laughing, passing beers, reeling in small fish, but I was restless. "Hey," I asked Tyler as casually as I could. "How far out are we going?" "As far as it takes," he said. The weather turned fast. I'd never seen anything like it. Clear skies one moment, heavy clouds rolling in the next. Tyler didn't seem concerned, though, and that put the others at ease. "It's nothing," he said, spinning the wheel. "Just a squall. Happens all the time out here." The wind picked up, whipping the waves higher, colder. The smell of salt and fish and motor oil thickened. We pulled our jackets tighter, but nobody said we should head back. Nobody but me. "Are we okay?" I asked Claire, keeping my voice low so the others wouldn't hear. She smiled at me, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Relax," she said. "It's just water." It wasn't just water. The storm hit us harder than anyone expected. Waves slammed against the hull. The boat groaned and tilted in ways that felt unnatural. "Life jackets on," Tyler barked. We scrambled for the jackets, but there weren't enough. "Someone'll have to make do without," Tyler said, his voice calm in a way that felt wrong. The others started shouting, arguing, but I stayed quiet. Something was wrong, something beyond the storm. The engine sputtered, stopped. "What's going on?" Sarah yelled, clutching Nate's arm. "Calm down," Tyler said. He wasn't panicked. He wasn't even worried. I realized then that he'd shut the engine off on purpose. The storm passed as quickly as it had come. The sea settled. The wind quieted. But we were alone. Miles from shore, the radio silent, the engine dead. Tyler stood at the helm, a knife in one hand, a strange, almost peaceful look on his face. "This is where it gets interesting," he said. "What are you doing?" Mike asked, his voice shaking as he pointed at the knife in Tyler's hand. "Relax, big guy," Tyler said, smiling like this was all part of the plan. "Just cutting bait." But he wasn't cutting bait. He was holding the knife like a threat, testing its weight in his hand. "Why'd you kill the engine?" I asked. My voice came out stronger than I felt. "Safety precaution," Tyler replied smoothly. "Don't want to overheat her out here. Let her cool for a bit, then we'll be on our way." "That's bull," Mike started, but Claire cut him off with a sharp glance. "Let's not jump to conclusions," she said, trying to calm things down. "Tyler knows what he's doing, right?" "Damn straight," Tyler said. His grin widened, his teeth yellow against his tanned skin. "You hired me to give you a trip you'd never forget, and that's exactly what you're getting." We sat in awkward silence as the hours stretched on. The sun, once high and bright, dipped toward the horizon. Nobody was fishing anymore. The rods lay abandoned on the deck. "Radio's dead too," Nate muttered, fiddling with the controls. Tyler leaned against the helm, watching us like we were fish caught in a net. "Got any food on this boat?" Sarah asked, breaking the silence. "Got plenty," Tyler said, but he didn't move to get it. "You going to share, or—" Sarah trailed off, her voice uncertain. "Maybe later," Tyler said. "For now, let's just enjoy the quiet, huh?" Nobody responded. It was Mike who finally snapped. "I'm not sitting here all night," he said, standing up and squaring his shoulders. "You're going to turn that engine back on or I'll do it myself." Tyler didn't even flinch. "Sit down, big guy. You're rocking the boat." Mike ignored him, moving toward the controls. It happened so fast. Tyler stepped in front of him, the knife flashing. Mike froze, hands raised in surrender. Whoa, he said. "Take it easy, man." "I told you to sit down," Tyler said, his voice low, almost gentle. "This is my boat. You don't touch anything unless I say so." Claire pulled me back, her fingers digging into my arm. "Don't get involved," she whispered. Mike backed off, glaring, but he didn't sit. "What's your problem, huh? You don't want to take us back? Fine, but I'm not staying out here with you acting like some psycho." "Psycho?" Tyler's grin faded. "You don't even know me." The sun was nearly gone now, the sky a bruise of purple and gray. Tyler sat down on the edge of the boat, knife still in hand, and lit a cigarette. "You know," he said, exhaling a plume of smoke, "my dad used to take me out here when I was a kid. Taught me everything I know. How to fish, how to steer a boat, how to survive." None of us said anything. We just watched him, waiting. "He was a hard man," Tyler continued. "Didn't believe in second chances. You screw up out here, he'd say. Nobody's coming to save you." He laughed softly, shaking his head. "I guess that stuck with me." "What does that have to do with us?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. Tyler looked at her, his smile gone. "Everything." Mike made the first move, lunging toward Tyler in a desperate attempt to grab the knife. It was a mistake. Tyler sidestepped easily, driving his knee into Mike's stomach and sending him crashing to the deck. The knife hovered inches from Mike's face. "Anyone else?" Tyler asked, looking at the rest of us. We froze, too terrified to answer. "Thought so," Tyler said. He stood up, wiping his hands on his pants like he'd just finished a chore. "Now here's how this is going to go. You're going to do exactly what I say, or things are going to get messy. Understand?" Nobody moved. I said, "Do you understand?" Tyler shouted, his voice cutting through the silence like a whip. "Yes," Claire said quietly. The rest of us nodded, too scared to speak. The night was endless. Tyler didn't sleep, and neither did we. He kept the knife close, watching us like a hawk. We were cold, hungry, and exhausted. The waves slapped against the hull, a constant reminder of how far we were from help. Claire whispered to me when Tyler wasn't looking. "We need a plan." "What kind of plan?" I hissed back. "I don't know," she said. "But we can't just sit here and wait for him to kill us." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Kill us. She said it so matter-of-factly, like it was inevitable. By dawn, Tyler was starting to show cracks. He was pacing the deck, muttering to himself, his movements jerky and erratic. "Everything's fine," he said, more to himself than to us. "Just need to think." It was Nate who finally spoke up. "Think about what? What's the plan, huh? Or is this just some sick game to you?" Tyler rounded on him, the knife flashing again. "You think this is a game?" Tyler shouted. "You think I wanted this?" "Then let us go," Nate said, his voice shaking. "Just let us go, man." Tyler didn't answer. I won't lie, I don't remember exactly how it happened. Everything after that feels like a blur of adrenaline and chaos. I remember Tyler shouting, lunging at Nate. I remember Claire grabbing an oar and swinging it at Tyler's head. I remember the sound it made when it connected, a sickening thud that still haunts me. And then we were in the water, the cold biting into my skin like knives. I don't know how I made it to shore. I don't even remember swimming. All I know is that when I opened my eyes, I was lying on the beach, the sun beating down on me, and the others were gone. They found Tyler's boat 2 days later, adrift and empty. No sign of him. No sign of Claire, Mike, Sarah, or Nate. Just me. The cops questioned me for hours. They didn't believe me when I told them what happened, and I can't blame them. It sounds insane, but I know what I saw. I know what Tyler did, and I know he's still out there. The rescue wasn't a movie moment. No dramatic boat on the horizon, no triumphant music. The authorities took me to a hospital, gave me fluids, checked for hypothermia, and sat me down for hours of questioning. I answered everything as best I could. How the storm came, how Tyler turned on us, how I ended up alone. "What about the others?" the officer asked. I looked down at my hands. They were still trembling, even though I'd been on dry land for hours. "I don't know," I said. I think they're gone." "You think?" His pen hovered over his notepad. I nodded. "The boat sank, or drifted. I don't know. It all happened so fast." It wasn't the full truth, but it was the best I could manage. How was I supposed to explain that last chaotic moment, the way Tyler's face crumpled after Claire hit him, the sound of the waves swallowing everything? I didn't tell them about the knife, or the blood. I didn't tell them how, in the middle of that final struggle, I'd grabbed Tyler's hand and twisted it so hard I heard his wrist snap. I didn't tell them how he'd fallen overboard, thrashing in the waves, his shouts for help drowned out by the storm. I didn't tell them how I'd hesitated, just for a second, before diving into the water myself, leaving the others behind. It wasn't my proudest moment. Weeks passed, then months. The headlines faded. Local charter captain vanishes with 5 tourists. I read every article, every theory. Some speculated that Tyler had planned the whole thing, that he was running from debts, that he'd sunk his own boat to fake his death. Others thought it was an accident, that the storm had overwhelmed us all. Nobody mentioned me, the sole survivor. I kept expecting someone to knock on my door, police, reporters, Claire's parents, but nobody came. It should have been a relief. Instead, it felt like a punishment. At night, I dreamed of the ocean. Sometimes it was calm, glassy, and endless, the horizon stretching forever. Other times, it was violent, the waves pulling me under no matter how hard I swam. But the worst dreams weren't about the water. They were about Tyler. He'd be there, standing at the edge of the beach, his knife gleaming in the moonlight. Or he'd be sitting in the boat, grinning that same easy grin, like none of it had ever happened. "Good catch today," he'd say, holding up a fish with its guts spilling out. I always woke up sweating, my heart pounding like I was still running from him. It took me months to go back to the beach. I told myself it was closure, that I needed to see the ocean one last time before I could move on. But deep down, I think I was hoping for something else. Answers, maybe. Or absolution. I stood at the edge of the water, the sand cold beneath my feet, and stared out at the horizon. The waves lapped at my ankles, calm and steady, as if nothing had ever happened. And then I saw it. A boat drifting in the distance. For a moment I thought it was a hallucination, but as it got closer I saw the peeling paint on the hull, the rusted railings, the broken mast. It was Tyler's boat. Empty. I didn't tell anyone about the boat. Not the police, not the reporters, not anyone. I watched it drift closer, then farther, until the tide carried it away again, lost to the sea. I think about it sometimes when the dreams come back. I think about Tyler, about Claire, about all the things I could have done differently. And I wonder if that boat will ever come back.